Hi, I'm Steve Casely from CBT Nuggets, and welcome to this nugget kicking off our PRINCE2 exam prep series. This nugget is going to give you an overview of PRINCE2, and this entire nugget is focused on the foundation exam. There are two exams for PRINCE2. There is the foundation exam, as I said, the focus of this nugget, and there is a practitioner exam, which is the advanced level PRINCE2 certification. This nugget is going to review what PRINCE2 is, kick off our exam prep series, and prepare you for the material that we're going to be covered in the rest of this series, focused on preparing you for, getting ready to, and passing your foundation exam and becoming PRINCE2 certified. So to kick off, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what PRINCE2 is. I'm assuming, and I hope I'm not assuming too boldly here, that you probably have an understanding of what PRINCE2 is to have purchased and began to use this nugget series. But in case that you have picked up this particular series as part of an overall corporate subscription and were intrigued by this term PRINCE2, it is not a music video, and it's not a video on how to become a music star, as in Prince, but it is a overview of a project management, project delivery methodology to ensure that we can successfully deliver projects on time and on budget. PRINCE2 is a registered trademark, as evidenced by this, and the trademark is owned by the Office of the Government of Commerce, most commonly called the OGC. And if you say, I don't know of an Office of the Government of Commerce in my organization, it is the British Office of the Government of Commerce. The Brits were the ones who developed PRINCE2 originally, but PRINCE2 is far more than just a pure British project management approach. As you can tell from my lack of British accent, I am not a Brit, I'm a Canadian, so I'm close to being a Brit. But PRINCE2 is a universally accepted project management delivery approach, and the PRINCE2 certification that we're working on through this series, again, is a universally accepted project management certification. Recognizing that the government is not in the business of making money delivering best practices, PRINCE2 is available in the public domain. So if you are an organization interested in adopting a project management best practice, PRINCE2 is one that you can easily adopt and accept into your organization without royalties and worrying about, all of the aspects of picking up a proprietary approach. PRINCE2 is made available to the general public through the Office of the Government of Commerce, and you can use it freely in your organization. The current release that we're reviewing in this Nugget series was developed in 2009. Now you may say, "Ooh, that sounds a little old. Is it about to be refreshed?" There are no current plans published for the refresh of PRINCE2, but as soon as the OGC refreshes PRINCE2, we at CBT Nuggets will update the series. So again, while this series is active, you can rest assured that you're working towards the current release of PRINCE2 and safely go through the rest of this series and prepare for, and again, take and pass your exam. As I said in my introduction, there are two certifications. This nugget is focused on the foundation certification, which is the certification achieved by most individuals interested in being Prince certified, but there's also a practitioner certification. This nugget series is going to be focused exclusively on the foundation, with the exception that in the next series, where I'm outlining the style and format and approach to the two exams, my focus again will be on the foundation, but I will outline the practitioner exam as well, so that you can get a bit of an understanding of what the practitioner exam is, should you get your foundation and then decide you want to go on to get your next level certification. So that's my overview of PRINCE2. So with that ownership and trademark and public domain aspect of PRINCE2 out of the way, let's roll up our sleeves and really understand what PRINCE2 is. And in this nugget, we're going to focus primarily on PRINCE2, which is the project management methodology, project management approach of interest. But I'm also going to spend just a few moments at the tail end of this nugget describing what a project is. It's one thing to say we're going to focus on PRINCE2, which is what we're going to focus on. But PRINCE2 is a project management project management delivery approach. So therefore, I think it's important that we also provide the foundation of what a project is to help put the usage of and the application of PRINCE2 into better context. And first, as I said, is let's figure out exactly what PRINCE2 is and where did this funny name come from, Prince. Again, you probably have an understanding of where the name comes from, but again, just in case, PRINCE stands for Projects, PR, in, the IN, a controlled, the C, and environment, the E. So PRINCE2, or Prince itself, stands for Projects in a Controlled Environment. 2 is simply, this is the second major release of the Projects in a Controlled Environment approach. When we get a new release of Prince, will it become Prince3? I don't know. I'm going to say highly unlikely because PRINCE2 is in its second edition, and therefore there's as strong a likelihood that the next release, the next update, will remain at PRINCE2, or if it's a very significant upgrade, we may move to Prince3. But if I were a betting man, and I'm not, I would say we'll probably stay at Prince2 simply because it does have universal recognition, and therefore why break a good trademarked name that has good recognition. But whether it's Prince2, Prince3, our focus is on projects in a controlled environment. And it's probably worth memorizing that. I can't guarantee you there's going to be a question on your exam that says, what does Prince2 mean? But let's face it, it's an exam validating your understanding, so it's probably a good idea. But what's going to be in your exam, guaranteed, are questions around what Prince2 is all about. And Prince2 is focused on specific processes, specific principles, specific themes, and specific deliverables. And in the rest of this Nugget series, I'm going to overview the Prince2 processes, the Prince2 principles, the themes, and the deliverables. But you'll recognize as you see the details in the remainder of this nugget, we have individual nuggets outlining what the Prince2 processes are and the principles and the themes and the deliverables. So if in this overview you find I'm going at 50,000 feet and going at this at a whirlwind pace, there's a reason for that, because we're going to review this all in much more detail later in the series. But before we get into that details, I want to take just a moment and point you to the Prince2 official website. And the name is not just www.prince.com or prince.org. It is www.prince-officialsite.com. If you search on the prince.com, you will come to a commercial site that is licensed from the OGC to be a Prince2 site, but the official government site is the Prince-official site, and I will leave it to you at your own discretion and your own time to review the information available in this Prince2 site, but you can see all of the details needed to better understand what the Office of the Government of the Controller, or Office of the Controller, is all about, and where you will get more information. Another key point of interest is the Office of the Government Controller is focused on not just Prince2, which is where we are, but also a number of other certifications and series. Probably one of the most common that you would have heard of is the ITIL, but there's also MSP, which is Management of Programs, and a number of other certifications that, again, you can peruse and view at your own time. Our focus is on Prince2, And again, I just wanted to point you to this particular website because it is a little bit harder to find. Now, it's not that hard to find with a good web search, but I just wanted to point out that the official site is, I'm going to, at least in my humble opinion, suggest has a somewhat obscure URL. And we're going to start off our detailed review at the overview level with the PRINCE2 processes. And I often think of, or at least I typically refer to, the processes as the life cycle. The steps we take as PMs to manage the project. PRINCE2, the official terminology is these are processes. But this is, again, I think as you look at these, what we do as project managers day in, day out to manage our project and keep our project on track. This is where we do all of our work. And we start off with directing a project, and its acronym is DP. I would suggest you need to memorize all of these processes, and you also memorize the acronyms themselves. In a PRINCE2 literate environment, it's very common that you don't say, I'm about to initiate or I'm about to direct a project. You simply say, we're about to activate the DP on our project. Or, today my focus is on MP. So again, as much as I tend to not like to use shop talk and jargon and that kind of stuff, because to the new uninitiated, it can be a challenge to understand what CS is, and they're always scurrying back and making notes and saying, I wonder what Steve was talking about when he said CS. But these are very commonly accepted acronyms for PRINCE2. So again, I would suggest that you spend just the few minutes of time necessary to get these things memorized. So directing a project, DP. This is not so much a project management activity as senior management. Senior management's focus is on directing a project, and that's where they validate the project. That's where they give us approval to go ahead. That's where they check in at various checkpoints throughout the project and validate that the project is on the right track, and they want to continue to support the project, and they want to continue to approve our project to go ahead to the next stage. Where our work really starts on a project is at starting up a project, or SP, and this is a very short, upfront, and Steve often refers to this as the validation of the eureka moment. Somebody had a really good idea that we should initiate a project to do X. They had it in the shower, they had it on the train on the way to work, but they had an idea. This is where we do that quick upfront validation that the project makes sense and get our senior management's buy-in that the project should proceed to the next step, which is initiating the project, or the acronym is IP. And this is where we set the foundation. This is where we define all of the work, the scope, the cost, the schedule for our project. So this is where we absolutely set, and I like to describe this as the foundation. Everything that the project should do should be identified in initiating the project, and it will be laid out, and we will establish the budget and the schedule and the scope and everything else associated with ensuring that we're delivering the business results for which our project was undertaken. With initiating well in hand, we move into the controlling, or CS, where we monitor and control the activities to ensure that the stage or the project remain on track and that the project is going to move forward to successful conclusion. Next, we're going to manage the project delivery, or MP, where this is where we ensure that the team is doing the work required to satisfy the scope. I often describe controlling the stage as us, the project managers, doing our thing to keep the project on budget, on scope, on track, on schedule. This is where all of the project management stuff takes place. And in managing project delivery, this is where the team, this is where the analysts and the designers and the developers, assuming this is an IT project, are doing the work to satisfy the scope. So managing the project delivery, or MP, is all about ensuring that the work is done and ensuring that the work is going to satisfy the business objectives. Not so much the next, because these are concurrent steps that take place throughout the entire project. So this is not just a you do this and you do this and you do this. There is a degree of sequential in that the first thing you do is start and the next thing you do is initiate. But then we move into controlling, managing, which is a parallel, concurrent, perpetual activity, as is the directing, which is a parallel, concurrent, perpetual activity. And then we're going to have stages in our project where we complete analysis and we complete design and we complete development. So while we're managing and controlling, we also have to be aware of moving towards our stage boundaries where we obtain approval of the work completed, validated that it's done, and we also plan and secure approval to proceed. C-U-R-E, secure approval to proceed. And that's a very key principle of PRINCE2, is we always replan and we always resecure commitment to proceed to the next stage. We've completed analysis. Our work and analysis is done. We're going to present our results. We're going to go back to the business case. We're going to go back to the project justification, and we're going to revalidate that the project makes sense. It's sort of a mini starting up of the project, the validation of the eureka moment. This is a revalidation of the eureka moment. And then finally, the last thing we're going to do is CP, which is closing the project, where we gather our lessons learned, we harvest our artifacts, we do all of the reusable material, we present the results, we implement our solution, we gain assurance that the project has satisfied the business objectives, and we declare the project a success. We have a great project end party, and we prepare our team to move on to our next successful PRINCE2 managed project. The next focus of PRINCE2 are our PRINCE2 principles. What is the guiding principle? What is the guiding approach? What is the core on which PRINCE2 is? And it again is these 7 principles. I absolutely believe you need to memorize and have cast in memory the processes, the life cycle steps, if I can use that term that we just reviewed. It's a little less critical, I think, for your PRINCE2 exam that you memorize these principles, but on the same behalf, there will absolutely be questions on your exam related to these principles. So again, if you have these 7 principles in mind, I think it will absolutely help you find the best answer, the most appropriate answer to successfully answer the questions and get your certification. So again, I'm not saying memorize these. I think it's a good idea, but if you have limited capacity of memory, and let's face it, our brains don't have unlimited capacity, it's more important to memorize the processes than the principles, but there will be questions on the principles, but you can answer the principles questions based on an understanding of what these principles are, as opposed to the memorization. But what are the principles? Continued business justification. That's what I just referenced a moment ago in our process of securing the commitment, managing the stage boundary, moving forward, validating that the business makes sense, revalidating the eureka moment. So, cooked into the processes, but this is the key principle of continued business justification. You revalidate the eureka moment. Not just at every stage boundary, but specifically at every stage boundary, but ongoing through our project as well. We need to learn from experience. What worked well, what didn't work, what should be improved, What artifacts can be brought forward? Again, something we need to consider at every stage boundary, but absolutely something that we have to consider on closing the project to ensure that the good things on our project are repeated and the mistakes, the challenges are learned from, and we improve our processes in our organization appropriately. Another key principle, and I know these are all key principles, that's what we're talking about, but another key aspect of PRINCE2 is well-defined roles and responsibilities. And we'll review the roles and responsibilities that Prince identifies later in the series, but there are absolutely some very well-defined roles. What does the project manager do? What does the project director do? What does the project owner do? What does the team do? And so on. So to ensure that everyone knows exactly what they need to do, we will have well-defined roles and responsibilities as defined, as supported by Prince. Very consistent with our processes, where we plan and initiate a stage, we manage and execute the stage, we manage the stage boundary, we manage our project by stages. We do analysis, we get continued business validation in our managing the stage boundary, we replan our next stage, we secure a commitment to the next stage, and we proceed into the next stage. Another key focus of PRINCE2 is we manage by exception. PRINCE2 is a well-defined process. Projects in a controlled environment, Prince. If we're following Prince and we're following the processes and the principles of Prince, in theory, the project should run very well. We don't have to worry about the mechanics and the plumbing because that's what Prince has defined for us. And the beauty of not worrying about the plumbing, the details, is it gives us time as project managers to manage by exception, to look for those problems, to look for those risks, to look for those areas that our project is going to have delivery challenges, and then proactively work on them. PRINCE2 is focused on products, ensuring that the work the team delivers, that the team works on, is going to satisfy the business requirements. And finally, and I kind of ran out of room when I was writing my principles down in preparation, we need to tailor Prince to suit the environment. If this is a very large, complex project, we probably need to apply 100% of Prince. If this is a smaller project in a well-known area, we can tailor Prince down and we can make it specific to the requirements. So those are our PRINCE2 principles. And our next and final, and I'm going to say methodology concept in PRINCE2 are themes. I have 4 things I wanted to talk about in this overview. I wanted to talk about processes, I wanted to talk about principles, I wanted to talk about themes, and I'm also going to talk about deliverables. But I lump the processes, the principles, and the themes into the methodological or the practice of what Prince is. And the next detail we're going to focus on are the deliverables, which is really the outcome, the results, the proof that Prince is being successful. But again, our last methodology concept, delivery approach, best practice, pick the word that you use, because I realize in some organizations the term methodology kind of has a negative concept, but pick the process, the principle, and the themes as being the overarching, the guiding force of what Prince is. So what are our themes? And again, I realize I'm going through this quickly. We're going to review all of this in more detail throughout the Snugget series. The key theme, if there's one reoccurring theme throughout Prince, is this concept of the business case. We don't start a Prince project without a business case. We don't exit a stage and start a new stage without reviewing, revalidating, reproving that the business case makes sense. It's that continual revalidation of the eureka moment, and we do that through the business case. As we discussed just a moment ago in terms of the roles and responsibilities, a PRINCE2 theme is we define a formal project organization. We document the roles and responsibilities. We tell everyone what we expect of them in the project, where they fit, what they need to do, who they report to, and we define that up front. PRINCE2 has a principle of planning. Well, project management is all about planning, but PRINCE2 recognizing that planning is a key aspect to being successful in project delivery, and we have a theme of planning. Once we've planned, we need to manage and control to that plan. So the next theme is we need to manage progress and we need to control our execution against the plan. That's going to keep us on track and on budget. But in order to ensure that we're also delivering what it is that the business wants, we also have a theme of built-in quality. Quality is fundamental. Quality is number one. To steal from an old Ford commercial from years ago, quality is job number one. All project delivery quality has to be job number one, and Prince has quality baked in. Recognizing that we need to be proactive, we need to be able to manage by exceptions, we need to ensure that we understand what nasty, evil, bad things are going to come in and impact our project. We have a theme of proactive risk management, so we can identify risk events early in our project and, if possible, eliminate them from the project by changing our approach, or worst case, identify that we need to have some contingency and some reserves in place so that when these evil, bad, nasty, unpredictable things happen, we're not caught blindsided and we have some schedule, we have some time, we have some money to deal with risk events as they materialize. Recognize that no matter how good a job we do at planning, as we're in execution, there's going to be changes. PRINCE2 has built-in concepts for change management, and change is accepted into our project, but change is managed. And that's a key concept, is change is not a bad thing. Change is inevitable, but change needs to be managed. And unmanaged change is what causes projects to run away and be delivered 4 times over budget and 3 times behind schedule. But if we manage change, we can continue to deliver the project successfully to expectations. And our last theme is configuration management. Again, Prince has a heavy software development focus, and we need effective configuration management of all of the bits and bobs, all of the software components, all of the deliverables. Every component that the project is going to deliver needs to be managed through a well-defined and rigorous configuration management process. So again, those are our 3 overarching defining approaches for Prince. We have the processes, we have the principles, and the themes. Next, we're going to look at the deliverables, which is our output. And PRINCE2, no surprise, has identified deliverables that they expect project management to complete. These are the project management deliverables. These are not the analysis report and the data dictionary and the data model and the data flow diagrams. These are project management deliverables. Prince has identified, or I'm going to review in this Nugget series, 15 specific PRINCE2 deliverables. I haven't listed them all here because we're going to review these in detail throughout the Nugget series and the latter part of the Nugget series. But the key deliverables that I'm going to just quickly overview in this overview is the business case. Now that shouldn't surprise you that the business case is the front and center core deliverable from PRINCE2. We talked about the business case in our process. We talked about the business case in our principles, and we talked about the business case in our themes. The business case is the foundation of why we're doing this project. The business has a problem. They need it solved. And for this anticipated solution that's going to cost $50,000 dollars, pounds, whatever the denomination in your country is going to be, and it's going to deliver benefits. So the business case is the cost justification, it's the problem, and it's the cost benefit statement. And as I've said over and over in this overview, we need to go back and continually review and evaluate and keep that business case front and center, because that is the foundation of Prince. Other key deliverables are end of stage report. We've completed our stage, we're managing our stage boundary. Have we achieved what we wanted to do? And it's the update of the plan, and it's the update of the business case, and it's the revalidation of the eureka moment, and it's the replanning to make sure that we're putting the project forward with the current best information that we have at hand. And this is based on the principle, the practice that at the beginning of a project, we probably should have a really good understanding of what we need to do in analysis, and we have a reasonable understanding of what we're going to do in design, and we kind of have a decent idea of what we're going to do in development, and so on. By the time we're done analysis, we should be able to redo that. By the time we're done analysis, we should have a really, really good idea, precisely idea of what we're going to do in design. And we should have a really good idea of what we're going to do in development. And we're going to have a much clearer idea of what we need to do for implementation and testing and so on. So at the end of every stage, we have new and better information. And we want to apply that to ensure our project is going to be successful. We have an issue log. These are the things that are troubling us on the project. These are the things that we need to manage and make go away. We also have risk logs and a risk management plan. These are the things we aren't sure of. The issues are real. The issues are things that are happening today and we have to deal with today, or our project is going to have problems. Our risks are things that are going to happen or may happen or that concern us, but they're future based. At some point in the time, I think a bad thing called X is going to happen on my project, and I need to be able to do something about it. Skipped over project plan, and the reason is I just listed these alphabetically. Issues and risks often go together, but the key concept of another key concept or key deliverable is our project plan. This is the budget. This is the schedule. These are the identification of the work that needs to be done, which leads us to our last key deliverable, which is the actual work package. These are the units of work that we need the team to work on. As I say, this is only 6. We have 15 in total that we're going to review in detail later in the series. We'll review the principle of what each of the deliverables are, and we'll present you with a suggested generic table of contents of how each of these 15 deliverables will be produced. And these sample table of contents are going to be available at Nugget Lab for your download and reuse as appropriate in your projects. And finally, just to conclude this overview nugget, a very brief overview of what a project is. And if you Google project or you do a Wikipedia of project, or if you whatever, you're going to get many, many, many definitions of projects. So I decided I'm going to try the opposite approach to that, and I'm going to say a project is not, and it's not ongoing operations. So if your organization manufactures a product, the project has nothing to do with the day-to-day manufacturing of the product, the day-to-day shipping of the product, the day-to-day customer service of the product. That's operations. That's the stuff that happens day in, day out to support the business of our organization. Now, we may be taking on a project to improve the way we manufacture our product. We may be taking on a project to improve the way we ship our product. We may be taking on a project to do anything within the organization, but it's to make a change. It's to do something new. It's to do something different. It's not the day-to-day making money. delivering the services. That's operations, and that's not project. So I don't know if saying what is not a project helps, but a project is literally everything else. And again, there's as many definitions of project as probably the number of hits you got in your Google search, but I like to summarize a project is temporary. We're taking on a new project to improve the way we can ship the product. So the project didn't exist yesterday. We've been through our validation of the eureka moment. We've initiated the project. We planned the stage. We've gained approval. The project now exists. So that's where the temporary aspect starts. We work on the project. We deliver the project. We control our stages. We close the project. And it's temporary. It has now finished. Temporary does not mean short. It could take weeks, months, even years to achieve all of the expectations of a project, but it didn't exist at some point in time, got approved, and at some point in time, and it could be years away, it concluded. So that's the temporary part. Projects should be unique, and that's the key differentiation from not ongoing operations. We need to do something new. We need to do something different. We need to do something that's never been done before. Because if it's been done before, we don't need to redo it. We dust it off the shelf. We buy it from another supplier, but we just simply implement something existing. So projects are always unique. It's to do something that has never been done before. Projects will have a budget and a schedule. The project has $50,000, pounds, yen, whatever is the currency in your organization, and the project is going to take 6 months or 9 months or 12 months. And that, again, feeds into the temporary aspect. We can determine a budget and we can determine a schedule because based on our current plan, if it starts tomorrow, it's going to take 6 months, it's going to use these 3 resources, and it's going to cost $50,000. And I'm going to stick with dollars. Being a Canadian, I'll stick with my native currency. But again, translate that into the currency of your organization or your company, your country. And I just said the next aspect to a project is it needs resources. Team members need to be assigned to do the work on a project. So we need a team, and we may need equipment, and we may need supplies, and we may need office space or team space, and we need all of the resources that are required for our project. And that's specifically called out for a project because it's temporary. Yesterday, none of these resources existed per se as a collection of resources to satisfy the project. They were simply resources in the organization that may have been doing other things, may have been sitting idle, may need to be acquired to satisfy our project, but they're unique alignment of resources to get our project done. And most importantly, and I left it to the last because it is the most an aspect of being a project, is a project has a scope. What it is to solve the business problem. Because projects are taken on to solve the business problem. We validate the problem through our validation of the eureka moment, and we solve it. But that's what a project is. And PRINCE2 is a very thorough, very complete, very good process to successfully manage projects through to completion. And that concludes our overview of PRINCE2. I hope this has been enough to whet your appetite that says, yes, PRINCE2 is what I want. I'm really excited about PRINCE2. I want to finish the series. I want to take my foundation exam, and I want to become PRINCE2 certified. So in this nugget, we talked about what PRINCE2 is, what PRINCE stands for, projects in a controlled environment, and we talked about the processes, or as Steve likes to call it, the life cycle, where we initiate, we plan, we manage, we control, we close the stage, we manage the delivery, and we close the project. We talked about the principles. What it is that provides the guiding force of what PRINCE2 is, Similar to that, we talked about the themes, the reoccurring themes that happen throughout Prince, and we talked about the deliverables that we, the project managers, produce to ensure we're satisfying the expectations of being Prince delivery focused. And by doing our Prince deliverables, we're ensuring that we're keeping all of our project stakeholders informed. And finally, we did a very quick review of what a project is. A project is a temporary engagement that has a specific budget and cost, has assigned resources, and is there to satisfy specific, unique requirements to address a known stated business problem. This concludes our PRINCE2 Overview Nugget. I hope this module has been informative for you, and thank you very much for viewing.